So GANs are divided into two parts. We have the generative network and we have the discriminator network. So the idea is the GANs, they belongs to the unsupervised learning part. Though they try to predict the results in a supervised manner, but they belong to the class of unsupervision learning task. So what happens is, since we have two architecture, generator and discriminator, generator tries to generate the fake images. It keep on trying and generating the fake images. So let's say you give any particular image as the input to the generator, it will create fake images of this particular input which is given to you. Then what discriminator does is, the task of discriminator is that the fake images that are being created by the generator, these images, plus you can also give the real images from your training set, maybe the real images to the discriminator. Discriminator identifies which among them are the fake one and which among them are the real images. So it classifies the set of images into fake and real. So this is basically a game between the generator and discriminator. The motive of generator is to generate fake images in such a way that they are able to fool the discriminator, and discriminator could think that they are the real images. And the aim of the discriminator is trying not to get fooled by the images of generator, and can recognize that what are the patterns between the fake images and the real images. So this means this particular generative and discriminative network, they use two particular architectures in them. So there are two particular kind of modeling. One is the generative modeling and other is the discriminative modeling. So what are these? If we talk about generative and discriminative algorithms, so generator belongs to the generative part and discriminator obviously belongs to the discriminator part. So the discriminative algorithms or the discriminator are the one that tries to classify the input. As of now, you might have mostly focused on the classification task, like you want to classify the any particular input set into different classes. You might be doing certain projects where you are classifying the input into respective classes. So main aim here is the classification. So when you do the classification, your idea is that you are given certain input features. Let's say X is my input feature. You are given certain features and you aim to produce the output Y. Your aim is to predict the output Y, let's say real or fake or spam, not spam, any particular number of classes. So if you look at the mathematical formulation of that, this will be expressed in this way, in this joint probability way, which is very easy. That probability of Y given X means you want to predict the output Y given the features to you. So this is how you can summarize the discriminative algorithm, right? So this is the way you summarize the discriminative algorithm. Now so up till now you have been seeing the discriminative part, the classification and everything. However, when we talk about the generative model or the generator, they belong to the class of generative algorithms, and these algorithms, they uh, function other way around. So which means that they want these discriminative algorithm, they want to predict the features or they want to generate the images. So if you look at the example of generator which I told you, generator takes some set and it gives you the fake images. The output is a fake image here, means something which is already having features inside them, right? It does not, so this, in this particular case, the output here that is being that we need is the X, the features here. So generative networks, they take the output value as the input and they try to generate the features from the given input to you. So feature means they are generating something new, because from that features obviously you'll be combining those features and eventually you will be getting some image, maybe some set of words, anything that way. So they work other way around. So if we talk about discriminative models, they try to learn the boundary because they need to classify the data, and for classification we need to learn the correct boundary at which particular point we say that this particular data set belongs to class A, this particular set belongs to class B. So there we need to learn this decision boundary here. But here in generative model we want to learn the distribution of our classes. We want to see how these features are distributed so that we can construct the image, maybe the fake image, any particular image from the set of features. So these are the differences between both the networks. Yes, okay. So these are the difference between both the networks. So GANs, what they do, they use both of them. So the goal of the generator network, as you can see, is to take the set of vectors, the set of images there, or with along with their actual output, and they want to generate the fake images. So the output here are the fake images. Now the discriminator network wants to take these images here and the real images, and they want to predict. So what people do, they sometimes they use only the generative network if they want to enhance the quantity of their data, or they want to enhance, they want to make they want to build a large data set. So if you don't have the required images with you, let's say, so you try to generate more images from that. So you might have already know that in order to enhance our data sets, let's say we have a data that only contains, let's say, 100 samples with us. So there are many number of techniques through which you can increase these samples. You might have already, if you have worked any of the image classification projects, so you can see there are many techniques. You can do horizontal flipping, rotating, everything. So the image generator, there are various techniques through which you can increase the number of samples. Let's say from 100 you can increase to maybe 1000 samples. However, when we talk about the generator network, they can also be utilized to increase the samples here. And the best part here is that they are more powerful than these techniques which are already there to increase your number of samples. They can give variety of, you can say, different behavior in the image. Let's say I have one image with me, I want to generate the facial, I want to generate any facial image of a person, and I don't have the required facial images for that particular person. Or let's say I want to generate the facial images of a newborn baby, and I don't have so much of data with that. So even if I give this network one particular image, it can give me a new image in such a way that, it can either manipulate just a certain attribute in that particular input, or it can swap also the face of one baby with other baby, and that way the output that is being generated looks very real, that we have already seen. So they are very powerful that way, and that way they can generate images with different patterns that is not possible with the existing data enhancing techniques. So many people, what they do, they use the generator network also to create the different images, different set of images in order to increase their data size. But again, as people were using it for this particular task, then suddenly people have come across that, okay, this architecture maybe can be used to generate some, let's try this with some other images, maybe other facial images. Then they can see that, okay, that way we can generate more and more fake data also. We can manipulate the image of any person, and we can swap their identities too, which looks very exciting. So that's how people started misusing and trying something different that way. So all this comes under the generative and the discriminative network. Again, the same thing, you add the certain random noise, generator is giving you the fake images with that noise. So okay, so as we talked about these networks, let's look at certain applications where GANs are popularly being used. So this you can see, The MNIST dataset, this is a very famous dataset which you might be aware of. So it contains the handwritten digit, images of handwritten digits. So you can see these images here, and they are having certain digits written on them. 0, 1, 2, 3, 0 to 9 digits are written. So you see these are the images, handwritten images, and these are the images that are being generated by the GANs. So you see how realistic they look. So basically in MNIST dataset, you have different patterns of digits that are there. Let's say if I have the image of 1, so people there, many people, they write 1 in different ways. Let's say some write like this, or let's say maybe some are using only this, maybe only this thing, any particular pattern that way. And even if you look 9, 9, some people look right like this, some people like this, then maybe little horizontally or little bit twisted. So there are different variations of a particular image. So that is done so that the network tries to learn more and more from the data, and the network can anyway identifies that all these images are of the digit 9. So again, the fake images you can see that are being created are also very nice, looks very much like the real images. So this is again increasing the number of samples in the MNIST data set. Then again, these are some of the facial images. Now you see this is the work that was being done in 2014. So here you see the quality of images that are being generated by the GANs here in each of these cases. Now again in 2015, more and more progress was there when the GANs and everything was being used. So let's say you have an image of a man which has glasses, and you subtract the glasses, you don't want the glasses in that image. Then you add the image of a woman without glasses, and you get the image of the woman with glasses. So that's how the vector arithmetic was being done with the GANs to generate different kind of image pattern. So this you can see the progress of GANs over the years, how they are increasing, their performance is increasing, and how they are being able to progress and generate more and more realistic images. So if you look at this image, obviously if you look at this image, this image is anyways better than all of them. So earlier the images that were being produced, they were not so good, blurry images, or maybe not, the images were not correctly focused and even not correctly generated. So if you see here this particular image, you can obviously see there's something wrong in this particular image, and maybe this particular this pattern is not correctly generated. Sometimes the eye of the person were not correctly generated. Then slowly the progress was there, and now you get the image of a person who, which is very much clear, evident, and visible. So apart from that, obviously you can use these networks for different tasks, like you can generate the cartoon characters. They can also work on artistic images also, on paintings also. You can generate the cartoon characters, you can generate different painting, even you can generate the fake artistic paintings also that way, which looks very real, as if any artist has made that kind of painting. So they are able to even generate those kind of results too in the art area, in the painting domain side. um, okay, they also help in the again image to image translation also. We saw that let's say you have an input, so you here in this particular case, you are basically translating a daytime image into a nighttime. That is what being done. So let's say you have these input images, and then you have ground truth value as this, so you are converting it into a dark images. So again, day to light, day to night translation, translation of black to white photographs of color is also there. Then you can also translate the sketches to the color photographs also. So also you can translate the satellite photographs to Google Maps. So you see how powerful these algorithms, these networks are. the translation of semantic images to photographs of cityscapes and buildings is also possible. This is also one of the example of cycle GAN. So when we talk about GANs, one more thing, you have different variants of GAN. GAN in itself is a very powerful technique. So you have different variants of GANs, and over the years the variants are, people are keep on coming up with different variants. So let's say you have the style GANs, you have cycle GANs, and so on. So you have to see for your problem statement which particular variant can work best. So this is and each one of them, they are useful for one particular task. Maybe if you want to generate different styles of particular image, or whatever is the problem statement given to you, you have to select from the different variants of GANs out there. So again, the variants, they are keep on coming, people keep on developing and producing different variants, so that everyone can use them and you can translate. Okay, so this all these things already I've said that this is also an example, the satellite photo to the Google Maps, everything the same thing which we discussed in these slides, the same thing is written. The input image is this, the output image is this, and now you can see the horse that is being placed in this particular location. You can reconstruct also, one more thing, you can reconstruct an image also. So let's say you have there was a problem statement where you need to find so if any, suppose if I talk about a real life example, so let's say a mishappening is there, or let's say an earthquake, country or any particular place is severely hit by any natural calamity, let's say earthquake, and then or maybe any that way, any calamity. So let's say you want to uh, map, or you want to reconstruct the image of the person. Let's say the photograph of the person that you received is not complete, distorted, so you can also regenerate that particular image of that person also. So people are trying to use GANs for the reconstruction part also. Let's say you have only a 3/4 part facial part of that particular person, you try to predict what could be the rest of the part of that particular person, the image part, the facial part of that person. So for the reconstruction type also, they are being popularly used. Then one more interesting area is the text to image translation. So nowadays you can see this work is in 2016, so they are also being used to text to image translator. So you are just given a text to the network, and then you train the network on train the network through various different stages. So you can see the results. Let's say stage 1 result. So the let's say the input statement here is that this bird is black with green and has a very short beak. So you can see a black bird with green. So you can see how the network has taken this particular sentence at the input, and it is training itself, and different stage output is given. Let's say stage 1, it has generated these images, stage 2, it has generated these particular kind of images. So that's how even you can translate the text into the image, which is known as text to image translation. Semantic image to photo translation also. So you have this semantic image with you. So what is semantic image, or what is what is a semantic image? Anyone? You must have heard about semantic segmentation. You must have also studied about semantic segmentation, semantic image also.
Blueprints type
What? Repeat
of
again.
blueprints kind of thing.
Blueprint. The output there is a blueprint kind of thing, but what does the mean word semantic means there? Then why can't we refer to them as blueprint images? Anyone else? What is semantic? Why do we refer them as the semantic images? So if you look at the word semantic, Semantic means having a meaning towards each and every object that is there inside the image that is given to you. So how you can generate the meaning? By coloring. So by coloring means the objects which are similar or which belongs to the same meaning. Let's say in an image, if I have the object of trees here, or let's say if I have the object of people in the image. So let's say all these things are there which I could see. Let's say the street lights maybe. So these are the different semantic classes, right? So means what is the meaning? Let's say if the image of a tree is given to you, so you say what is the meaning of this? So you can directly label it that this is an image of a tree here. So semantic means what is the meaning of the object that is there inside the image. So that's why we have the area which is known as semantic segmentation, which segments or which divides the images into its corresponding meaning. And how it divides it? It colors the objects in the image in such a way that, let's say, the whatever objects that belongs to tree, they can have one particular color. Let's say maybe in this particular case they are green in color. People, they can be colored red. So whenever you see people here, you can see, these are people, they all are having same color here. The trees, you can see trees are all in green color. The street lights, you can see they all are yellow. So that's how you are associating the meaning to each and every object that is present in the image. So this is also very a popular task, semantic segmentation. And again, you have various different architectures which are able to uh, classify and correct the images into its proper segments. So you can see the road here, maybe the road here, that all the road here that are colored in this particular color. These vehicles that are there, they are colored in other particular color. So that's how you are dividing the objects into different classes. And then you can see the trees here, they all are green in color. The people here, they all are red in color. So this is semantic segmentation. You are generating the meaning of each of the objects that are there in the image. That's why you get this blueprint if you refer these kind of images here, because they are associating the label or the color for every object that is there inside the images. So the GANs, they can take these images also as your input. So this image which you see here, all of these images are being generated by the architectures. Any architecture if you use for semantic segmentation, the output that they give are these particular kind of images. You can take these images and feed it to the GANs as the input, and you can get the actual images as the output, a synthesized image as the output here. So again, this is also one of the area where they are being used. One more thing, the frontal view generation. So let's say you are given images, the side images, side profile are given to you. You can again reconstruct and you can see what is the full image of that person. So see how powerful they are. They can even do these particular things. So you can think of, let's say if you are working in any of the area, any of the research area, you can see and you can figure out, let's say where you can use GANs in your particular area. Maybe if you have, let's say, working on facial images or any other kind of data set with you, you can see, okay, I am working with text, can I use GANs here? Yes, you can use GANs with text also, because they can use for text to image mapping if that is a problem statement, or if you need certain kind of functionality in your particular model. So you can definitely use them. So even for frontal view generation, this is also, they can also generate the human pose. So human pose estimation is also the one of the research area. So in generating the human pose also, so if you look at people, if you look at different online websites, Amazon and everything, the on shopping websites there. So you can see, sometimes you see there is only the one particular person is there, and he or she keeps on coming with all the different clothes that are there, let's say with a particular brand. Okay, and the position of that particular person is also sometimes same, sometimes they keep on changing. So for that also people are using GANs, researchers they are using GANs to even create new poses. Let's say if you are standing in one particular pose, let's say if you are in this particular pose, you can now generate a completely different pose, maybe entire side pose, sideways pose. So earlier the researchers were focusing first on the facial part, where you can see the side faces. From the side faces they are able to generate the full faces, but now they are concentrating on the entire human body, the entire human pose that way. So if you have the maybe the frontal images, so or your side images, so you can reconstruct and you can generate any other target images, maybe front images, back images, and so on. So that's how they are being used. So this is also one of the latest work in 2017, and this is also one of the area where people are increasingly now using GANs in this particular area to generate different variants of the human poses, how they can use and how they can, again after generating different variants, how they can also switch the you can say here in this particular case, if you see how you can switch maybe the clothes which this particular lady is wearing, you try to switch it with these particular clothes. So that's how the research is being usually done. So with one, just with only one particular pose, you can use that particular pose for having different variants of poses, and then you can also change the clothing and everything on that particular pose to have different variants of poses with different variants of clothing. So that's how this will automatically reduce the burden, and that's how powerful they are becoming. So all these are very quite recent work. This is also done in 2017. These are some of the famous work which got popularity. So obviously all these works, they are now also people are researching on these works now also, and they are trying to make it more and more powerful. Photo editing too, the real image, you can again reconstruct the image in any particular way. The hair are blonde, bangs, this particular lady is now smiling, you can even turn this image into the image of a male. So you see how in photo editing also they are being used. This is also the work done in 2016. So you see all the majorly all these interesting work, they are being done after 2015, because after 2015 the deep neural networks were there, the popularity of deep neural networks were rising, especially in this era, because again the computing and everything, we were getting the data. So suddenly, because neural networks, they were developed way back in the 19th century, but at that particular time there was no data, no computing power, so the research and everything was stopped in this particular category, in this particular case. Again they were being used, research again started in these networks, and they started showing very good results that way. So uh, interestingly, you can see many works here how people are using GANs to generate different faces, generate different variants, and so on. Yes, so this is also where you are removing the rain from the photographs taken during the image detraining. So you see this image here, maybe you can see rain in this particular area. Image, you can't see the rain for snow also that way. In particular picture, you can see snow. In next image, you can also remove that particular snow from the image. So everything here. Face aging, uh, again this work is being done in 2017. You are generating the face with different apparent ages, and the app also got popular. If you could recall, recently you just post your picture there, and you can see your again the output it gave. You can see how you will be looking at 60 plus or 50 plus and so on. This app also got popular quite a few time back. So again, thanks to GAN. So 2017 people started doing research in those particular techniques, keep on doing, and again they started building different apps and everything, where you can see, okay, let's say I give you this is my image and I want to see how I'll be looking 60 plus or maybe 50 plus. So all thanks to GANs, where you can see each of these different variants coming up. And nowadays the recent one, the live portraits, this is getting so much popular on the social networking sites, that the image, whatever image is given to you, you can generate a live photograph the from that, as if the image is talking. So you see, you can very well visualize the progress of GAN over the years, that how they started back there and how you can see now they are serving as the living portraits. Some, you can't even think that if I have a static image with me, can I let's say convert it into something like this, you see in this particular, into a living portrait. So you can't even think of all these things, but you see how the GANs and how the literature, the again the progress in AI is there, that they are transforming it into such things that way. So this is the entire progress of GANs, latest this. So let's see what all is there that are that will come up in the near future. So now you can very well relate to all these things whenever any such thing will be there, that okay, particularly we should be thankful for GANs for all these particular kind of applications or results. And even I would encourage you, if you are working in particular in any application, in any of your projects, AI based project, you can definitely look for GANs, because these are something that people are actually working now. As you can definitely see all these examples there, uh, all these examples, the applications, they are very much, people are they are very much popular nowadays. So maybe you can also come up with something different, and it can be beneficial, I hope something good, so that it could be beneficial for the society. So yes, that's it. With this, I finish the module 2 of your syllabus. So which means, if I reiterate, which means your entire module, out of the 4 modules, we have completed the 2 modules, and those 2 modules, module 1 and module 2, will be in your mid semester, and your mid semester will be on 23rd of October. The timings will be 9 to 11, means for you it will be 9 to 10, for the second batch it will be 10 to 11. uh, the timing will be, I think, 40 minutes. So the entire duration of the time, official timings for your mid sem is 9 to 10 obviously, but the test duration will be 40 minutes. 20, we have 20 minutes that way, this gap bracket there, so that you entering and maybe setting up things, giving you the instructions, the LMS loading, everything is easily manageable in those 20 minutes that way. So we'll be having this 20 minutes video, and the duration of the test will be 40 minutes. um, Again, any other specific thing which you would like to ask regarding the syllabus also? Please go to, I don't know, because many of you have not attended the lectures also. I don't know how you people will manage that way. Anything, everything that is being covered in the class, only those things will be there in the mid sem. Make sure you go through the PPTs that are there on LMS. I'll be posting this PPT also tomorrow. So make sure you go ahead and check all the resources that are there on LMS, study from those resources, and the recordings for every session is also available. I've actually recorded each and every class of yours, so you can refer to those recordings also anytime and see what was being done in the class. And Yes, that's it. Anyone
Ma'am,
having any other doubt? Huh?
number of questions.
Most probably, again, it would be 35 to 40, either 35 or 40. This I'll see. If 35 questions, I think for solving this 35 questions, 40 minutes are enough. So I'll be giving you 35 only. Otherwise, if I think no, 1 minute per question maybe, so maybe 40 questions. So 35 to 40.
All are in MCQs only, ma'am.
Yes, everything will be MCQ based.
Okay, ma'am.
Any other thing, any other question, any other problem you have? Any doubt you have, anything you want to maybe want to say, anyone?
Ma'am,
And
is the presentation thing on pause?
is the
Presentation thing on pause?
yes, right now it's on pause because you have your mid sem from next week, so it's on pause. This week also there'll be no presentation. Next week also there'll be no presentation. And regarding the presentation, some of you have already given, some of you have been assigned the topics to write the blogs also, because I said it's not mandatory that I'll be giving the presentation topics to everyone. Some of them have been given the topics to write blogs also. So in that particular case, obviously they will write the blog, send it to me. They have to check for the plagiarism also, that should not have any plagiarism and everything. So that's why in both the cases, for the presentation part, you need the in presentation, you will be, it's very easy, you can simply copy and paste the content. But for presenting, you need to be very specific. While writing, you don't need to present, but you have to be very specific that there should be no plagiarism at all. And what should be the maybe content of the blog, the length of the blog, that also depends. So that's why both these options are there. I myself is giving you the topic and the whether you have to do the presentation or maybe you have to do the blog. Otherwise, people will be like, I want to do this, I want to do that. Still, in any case, if you feel that, let's say one student was there who genuinely wanted to write a blog on one specific topic related to AI, so he actually requested it for that. So in that particular case, if you think any topic is there, any exciting topic is there, for the presentation, maybe for the blog also, you are welcome that way. If something excites you that way, then that is not a problem. You can definitely go for that. As of now, that is on hold. We'll be resuming it after the mid semester. Anyone having any other doubt? I will be circulating the information regarding the mid sem in the coming week itself, so that everyone gets to know. And tomorrow you have quiz also, if you can remember. So tomorrow you have quiz also. For that also, the mail is already circulated. Make sure you attend that quiz so that you can get an idea of what kind of questions will be there in the mid sem, how well prepared you are. Yes,
Ma'am,
yeah.
quiz pattern will be
MCQ.
number
It,
of questions
I
like.
have mailed you.
Okay, ma'am.
Did you see that mail, Manindra? I've already mailed you regarding the quiz. 20 questions, 20 minutes.
Okay, ma'am.
Check that mail on Outlook. I've mailed you already. I've in previous week itself, I have mailed you everything regarding the quiz. So the quiz will be on LMS only. Tomorrow's quiz will also be on LMS. Make sure you attend that particular quiz. Anyone having any other question? And also, certain people whose internships are over or are getting over, make sure you, because I have the data, make sure you come back and attend the class, because I have the data of who all are there attending, who all are there who are not attending. So make sure, if you are not doing the internships and are not involved anything, just attend the class. If not, if you have any particular, let's say, test, any preparation, anything, just let me know so that I can get an idea of why you are not attending, because there are many people who I have no idea, who are not into any of the maybe job placements and everything. Still, they are not attending, so I'm not aware of what they people are doing or what they are up to. So at least make me aware of what you people are up to or what you are doing. so that I can get an idea that way. So this was all I wanted to say. If there are any other questions, just let me know. Otherwise, I can end this lecture.